Good afternoon, everybody. We are back to being on the campus. We are live college basketball future preview. My name is Jeff. They call me the Big Man on campus, and that music means one thing. It means we are back and on the precipice of another college basketball season here in sports. Welcome back. As always, my name is Jeff, the Big Man on campus, and we're using this small podcast, short podcast, as a basically a future breakdown of some teams that I'm looking at as we embark on the 2016-17 college basketball season. And I know many are excited. As many of you know, I'm a big college basketball fan. I enjoy the sport, and as always, looking forward to another year of fun and winning bets, hopefully, as well. So clearly, guys, many of you will hear this, either today or in the coming weeks, and we're weeks away from the season. And I know many people, including certain cappers, they don't bet out a conference, or they kind of wait till November or late November or like December to start playing. I do everything. I enjoy out of conference play. I actually enjoy out of conference play more than conference play, but I enjoy all facets, and I'm gonna use this podcast as basically probably 10-15 minute show basically on three teams that I'm looking at as far as from a future perspective that I'm really looking forward to this year. Now, as the future is concerned, obviously these are teams that I think can win the NCAA championship, but I'm not going with favorites. I'm not going with look. While I do think Duke and Kentucky and Kansas are very good, for me, there's not a lot of value. I look to teams that can get there, and I think they have the ability to win. And if you, for instance, in college football this year, I'm looking at anything from 12-1 or higher. I'm looking at in college football, Michigan at 12-1 to begin the year, Washington 45-1. That's what I'm looking for in college basketball. I'm looking for basically for you to get to the tournament and to make a little noise. And I went ahead and picked three different teams that I feel that I have everything from I have a 16-1, 20-1, and a 45-1. So obviously very good value on all these teams, and I think they all have a really legitimate shot to win something. As far as a conference by conference breakdown, we will do that a little bit closer to the season. Maybe in a week or so, Ryan and I will get on the airwaves and break down college basketball like we did last year. We had a good read on teams last year, and as always, people like to hear about the upcoming season because a lot of people don't begin capping basketball until it starts. I've been watching basketball. I actually watched, several days ago, I watched Wisconsin play an exhibition game against a D3 team. However, games like that, it's good to see some depth and that kind of thing, and you just kind of see what these teams are all about. So let's jump into several of the futures that I'm looking at as we embark on another year. First future, I'm going to look to a very, a long shot. I mean, this is 45-1, and all these lines are readily available currently on 5 dimes. I'm looking at West Virginia at 45-1. West Virginia, I was a fan of last year, and I'm a big Bob Huggins guy. I really like him as a coach, and I think the players play for him. He's one of those guys that 10, 15 years after you graduate, you still go back and you remember and you pay homage to. This is a great basketball coach, great X&O guy, good recruiter. And you look at last year, West Virginia. I mean, this team lost in the first round. They lost to Stephen F. Austin, who we know made a nice run to the tournament. But for this team, it's unfinished business. I mean, they were not happy with what went on last year, and they weren't happy with the fact that they were out in the first round. But again, I mean, as college sports, and many know, you lose people. And, West Virginia has a little bit to replace. I mean, they lost Jayshawn Page, the great guard, and they lost, one of their bigs, actually two of their bigs. But, I think that the arrivals actually outweigh the departures. They brought in some good players, and some guys have improved. You look at this team last year. This team was great on the bench. They led the nation in bench scoring. They had a lot of depth, a lot of guys that could come off and give you, very good minutes, and that's going to continue this year. This is a deep team. Javon Carter, who he comes back and kind of will fill Jayshawn Page's shoes. This kid's a great defender. I mean, you look at what they do defensively. They love to play that full court press defense. It's effective. Javon Carter last year didn't get a lot of love, but he held Buddy Hield to 6 points in their game in the Big 12 tournament. You hold Buddy Hield at 6 points. That's pretty impressive. He's got another year under his belt. They're pretty deep in the backcourt. I mean, Daxter Miles, Tariq Phillip, Javon Carter. They have some really good guards and ball hawking guards that can get up in your face and steal the basketball from you. You also look at from a whole, they're very good defensively. They're just really going to wear you down. They're going to turn you over. It's hard to go into Morgantown and play. That's a great atmosphere there, and they're well coached. Plus, you look at the fact that the big thing for them last year is they weren't a great 3-point shooting team. They've improved in that aspect. They've gotten deeper, and I think the one thing for them is they will struggle, I think, maybe on the block. They don't ever give you – they don't have any 7-footers. They don't have a guy that's, going to overpower anyone. But, you look at some graduation last year. I mean, no more Perry Ellis to deal with. No more Ryan Spangler to deal with. I mean, there's some ability here with this West Virginia team to kind of just wear you down on the defensive end and, kind of outscore you. And you look at some early on. I mean, this team could very well go into conference play undefeated. I mean, they have a pretty easy out-of-conference schedule. I mean, the only really tough game you have out of conference is at Virginia. And, Virginia has, they're going to be good this year. But, again, I mean, they lose Malcolm Brogdon and Gill and Mike Tobey. So, again, they're not going to be as good. But that's going to be a low-scoring game. If West Virginia can find a way to win that game, I think they'll beat Illinois. That's a decent out-of-conference foe as well. But this team could very well go into the out-of-conference undefeated. And, you get a good win under your butt against Virginia. That's going to go a long way. Look, I think this is probably a 3 or 4 seed in the tournament. But, they're picked second in the Big 12. And, if Kansas can't get things going early as far as kind of cohesion, look, Kansas is the favorite for sure. But I think West Virginia is right there. Now, 45-1, I think that's really good value on the Mountaineers going forward. And again, you can wait on this. You could probably get higher. I looked at 5 times. I didn't look at every book. But 45-1, you're going to see West Virginia. And I think they're pretty decent play. This team's going to go into the season ranked, around top 10. So, grab them early. And I think, I think the unfinished business is there for West Virginia. Next one, I'm going to go to the Big Ten with a team that I'm really high on. I've been high on this team. I wasn't really big on them last year, and they were kind of they kind of surprised me a little bit. But 2 years ago, if you know me, I was big on Wisconsin. I picked them to win the whole thing. They got to the title game with Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker, and I basically keyed in on them, and I was dead right on them all year. I'm high on them again this year. It's interesting because this team reminds me a lot of the team from 2 years ago. I mean, they bring back everyone. You look at this team at 20-1 to win it all. I was talking to my co-host from the Big Meadow campus, Ryan, about Wisconsin, and he said to me, they get everyone back. They returned 99% of their minutes from last year. They bring back Nigel Hayes, who, look, Nigel Hayes reminds you a lot of Sam Decker as far as kind of the expectations. Player of the Year candidate in the Big 12, one of the best players in the country. You bring back Bronson Koenig, who has, over the years, turned into a fantastic guard. Fantastic. Ethan Happ, who, you look at what Ethan Happ did last year as a redshirt freshman. He was led the Big Ten in steal rate. He turned people over like crazy. He was 4th in defensive rebound percentage, and that's all as a freshman. He has another year under his belt. He's going to be one of the better bigs in the league, kind of not big, but like a wing kind of player, Sam Decker type of player. And then you get Zach Showalter. You got a lot of depth. They're just deep. They're the best defensive team in the league. And, what I like so much about Wisconsin, where you don't have with other teams, is they're so, they're well coached. They're so deep. They don't make mistakes. They don't turn the ball over. They're constantly top 10 in, lowest amount of turnovers per game. They don't beat themselves. They don't foul a whole lot. They're just well-rounded. They remind me a lot of, in college football, like an armed services team. They don't make mistakes. They just kind of beat you slowly, and that's what Wisconsin does. They get after you defensively, and they're really efficient on the offensive end. They have a great home crowd in Madison. That's a great place to play. Look, to me, I think the Big Ten's pretty good this year. I think Purdue's very good. I think Indiana's going to be really good. Michigan will surprise you. But that's what you get with the Big Ten. You get a tough game every time you play. And look, you can also beat up on Penn State and Maryland's not going to be that good this year. And there's teams you can definitely beat up on. But early on, right out of the chute, Wisconsin's going to get tested. And they're going out to which I like from Greg Gard. Great idea to go out to play in the Maui Invitational. I mean, you're going to have, a lot of good teams in that tournament. I mean, Oklahoma, Syracuse, Marquette, North Carolina, Tennessee. Who else do you have out there? You have Oregon. I mean, you have a lot of good teams out in that tournament this year. So they're going to get tested early on. And I think if you look back to that team in 2014, they played in the Bahamas tournament, and they won that tournament and ended up making the run that they did. So, for me, you got to get tested early on. And, look, the schedule's going to be there for Wisconsin. Can they put it all together? I'm willing to bet that they can. I really, really like Wisconsin coming into the year. And, if history is anything, you probably want to follow me on that because I've been keyed in perfectly on this Wisconsin team over the years. So, you'll hear a lot from me on them this year, as you did a couple years ago. And for me, I think at 20-1, they're about as good a play as anyone. If you're asking me, do I think they win the Big Ten? Yes, I do. I think Purdue will give them trouble. I think Indiana will give them trouble, but I just think they're the class of this conference and the best of the best. And you're gonna have to go through Madison to win this conference. So then my second play is on Wisconsin at 20-1. Third play, this is another very good play if you ask me. Oregon 16-1. Last year, Dana Altman's squad 31-7, lose to Oklahoma in the Elite Eight. Really their undoing last year. Oregon's was they couldn't shoot the three, and that was kind of their undoing. And again, if we go back to that game, Oregon just couldn't miss. Oklahoma just couldn't miss in that game. Buddy Hield kind of jumped out early, and they never really looked back. But you talk about another team who brings back a lot. I mean, Oregon brings back a lot as well. You bring back Dylan Brooks, the one of the all Pac-12 players last year, 16.7 points a game. They also bring back Tyler Dorsey, another young guy that really made waves last year. They have a ton of depth, particularly at the guard position. I mean, they're bringing in the top player in Washington, Peyton Pritchard this year, a guy that may not be ready just yet, but is going to provide you with a lot of depth going forward. Casey Benson, another good, really, really good shooter, depth player at the back end. And you look at what they have down low. I mean, you bring back Jordan Bell, you bring back Chris Boucher, Chris Boucher, 110 blocks last year. He is a huge presence down low. I mean, he is just huge. I mean, he goes a long way. He could step out and hit a three, which he did a lot last year. They also added some of the transfers and players they brought in I really liked. I mean, they bring in Dylan Ennis from Villanova. They also brought in the JUCO Player of the Year, Cavell Bigby Williams, 6'10". Reminds you a lot of Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher, actually, another player they brought in from the JUCO ranks that's worked out pretty well. They had Cavell Bigby Williams. That's big for them. And they're another team that you look at last year. They were number one seed. I think they should be a number one seed again this year, and I think they will. Look, Arizona's good. I think they'll be a good team in the Pac-12. You like what UCLA gives you, but to me, I think it's going to be real similar to last year. None of those teams can really put it all together at the right time. I think Oregon's loaded. I think they're deep. I think they're one of the deeper teams you're going to find, and they also are in the Maui Invitational. They challenge themselves early. They get out of the blocks early. These teams that I'm talking to you about, these tournaments go a big way. The winners of these tournaments normally are there at the end. So, I like the fact that Dana Altman and his crew are going to be challenged early. And, as far as from a value perspective, you're getting a number one seed last year who has improved and probably better at 16-1. I think you got to play Oregon if you're looking for a team out west. So for me, I'm going Oregon 16-1. Wisconsin 20-1, and West Virginia at 45-1. Some others, kind of why I'm on here. Just quickly, some of the higher end, futures as far as deep ones. Gonzaga at 80-1. That's obviously very deep. Mark Few. It's when will this team put it all together and actually be able to make a run? I mean, every year we talk about how good they are. For me, they're always included in my futures because their conference is such a joke, and they're going to win their conference. They're going to get a high seed in the tournament. They're going to be a 4 seed, They're going to be a good, and they bring back people. I mean, they bring back Kornowski. They bring back and get Nigel Williams-Goss, a Washington transfer who, look, when he went to Washington, he was one of the better guards in the country. They bring him in. They bring back all sorts of transfers and bring back Josh Perkins at point guard. You do lose Sabonis, do lose Kyle Wiltshire, do lose Dren Guinness, do lose, McClellan. They lose 4 of their 5 starters, but again, Mark Few is a guy that reloads, he retools, and constantly has one of the best programs in the West. So at 80-1, I think a small play is worthy for Gonzaga. But they're going to go through some growing pains early. They get Kornowski back, which is good. He's going to be a load down low. And like I said, some of the bigs, as far as they brought in from the transfer market, I like. As far as some of the others here, for me, look, Duke's probably going to be unbelievable. But at 2.5-1, I'm not interested. Another team, Kentucky at 5-1, again, not interested. I'm not sure how you bet Kentucky ever. I mean, there's just, you look at it's freshmen. You're dealing with 17, 18-year-old kids. Are they the best of the best? Yes, but it's going to take a long time for them to get some cohesion. North Carolina, I'm not a Roy Williams guy, so for me, I can't ever get involved with them. I think Roy Williams is a great recruiter, but from a coaching standpoint, I'm not interested. Oklahoma will regress this year, obviously. Notre Dame will regress. Purdue, 40-1. They're kind of in that West Virginia portion there. One of the reasons maybe I didn't include them is because I'm so high on Wisconsin. But I think Purdue, with Isaac Haas and Vince Edwards and Caleb Swanigan, they're a good basketball team. They're well coached. And you saw last year, I mean, they can make runs. The problem I have with Purdue is they don't have a guy that you want to give the ball at the end of the game and say, make a play. They don't have that. They didn't have it last year. They don't have it this year. You look at some of the teams I mentioned. Oregon's got Dylan Brooks, Nigel Hayes for Wisconsin, Grayson Allen, for Duke. A lot of these teams have a top-end player that can, score the ball at the end of the game. Purdue doesn't have that. But if you want a defensive, grind-it-out kind of game, Purdue's going to give it to you. And you should see a lot of unders in the Big Ten this year, as always. Maybe one other one. And I never want to get away from them, but, you have another season for Shaka Smart, Texas. I mean, at 40-1, Texas is always going to bring in top-tier talent. I mean, that's just what they do. I liked towards the end of the year what I saw from Shaka Smart. I mean, this guy can coach. I think it's a great fit at Texas. I think he's going to bring his guys in, and I think he's going to kind of grow that team to the way he wants it. And with the recruiting down there, he's going to have a team 2 or 3 years from now. I like kind of what they have. I mean, they always have some high flyers. Kendall Yancey, Kerwin Roach, and they brought in Dill Osatikowski, a kid from Tulane that I thought was a really good player last year. They bring him in from the transfer market. Shaq Clear. Look, if you say to me, hey, who's the most athletic team in the country? Texas is always going to be up towards the top. It's just the problem with them over the years is they have not been able to put it all together. They have some of the most collective talent you're going to find. Can they put it all together is the big question. It's going to take Shaka some time, but watch out for Texas. As you saw last year, they're not going to go away. They're always going to give you their best game. So, that's kind of where I go with it. But, guys, obviously, I will ask and recommend definitely get several books. Don't have just one book. The future market is so it's diluted. I mean, you can get so much different plays from one side to the other. I mean, for instance, like I have a local that I'm looking at right now, and like I gave West Virginia at in 5 dimes it's 45-1. At my local, it's 25-1. They have Oregon at 12-1, where 5 says 16-1. They have Wisconsin at 20-1, which is pretty much the same. But you're getting 25-1 to 45-1. So a huge difference there. I urge you, when you're betting futures, for any like novice guy out there, don't bet futures on locals. They're not giving you good prices. They're not. And the big reason for why people bet futures on locals is you can bet on credit. I mean, you can bet $100 future, and your money's good for a while. You have something to look forward to. With a website, 5 Dimes or Bovada or whatever you play, your bankroll's your bankroll, and you got to tie your money up. And that's why they know that at locals. They're not stupid. So you're not going to get a great price betting a future on a local. So definitely look as far as when you're getting a book, be sure to take advantage of bonuses. A lot of these websites, whether it's Intertops or 5 Dimes or Bet Online, they're always going to give you great bonuses. Around these times. College basketball starting, NBA starting, NFL. One thing I can recommend from a reference standpoint, go to sbrforum.com. I do videos on there. It's a great website. I don't know if many people know, but it's a great website not only for good content from a video and information perspective, but from a reference standpoint, what the best books are, ratings on books, bonus structures, blacklists on what books you shouldn't play on, and they also give you the bonus structure. Who's going to give the best bonus? Intertop's offering 200% cash bonus. GT Bets. If you're new to the stuff, get familiar. Get informed. Don't just go in it and say, well, I'm going to put $100 on this site and that's it. Go find the best website. Go find the sites that are going to give you the best bang for your buck. And, SBR Forum does a great job of doing that. So when you're getting a new book, go over there. Get your book there. They're going to give you the great information on how to get that and how to get the best payouts and stuff. So that'll be it, guys, for today. Hope you enjoyed my short college football preview. Or college basketball preview. My mind's on football, but we got a couple weeks till the season starts, and don't be the one on the bench sitting out when it comes to college basketball. Find someone that you work well with, or find a capper that you like and enjoy, and take their information. Guys, this business is about winning. It's not about who's better or who's shit or who's whatever. People go through growing pains. I've went through growing pains. I'm going through growing pains. I just try to give out some good information and try to show people that I know what I'm talking about. And am I always right? No, I'm not right very often. But when I'm right, I'm right, and I try to offer the best as far as podcasts and that sort of thing. So stay in touch and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I am the Big Man on Campus. You can find me on Twitter at Jeff JFFNADU at BMOCwins.com and newly at C2CSportsFirm.com. Everyone have a great night, and we'll see you next time on the Big Man on Campus. Have a great day. Bye bye.